Think you know the real cost of living in Las Vegas? Well, keep watching.
Today we're going to expose the real hidden fees and things that could absolutely wreck your budget that you might not be aware of before you make your move to Vegas. And we're not just going to sit in our living room and kind of show you some B-roll. We're actually going to show you our very real bills that we personally pay so that you can be better aware before you make your move to town, so you're not surprised.
If you're even thinking about moving to Las Vegas, do not miss this shocking breakdown. Stick around. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Kyle.
And if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest here in Las Vegas, we would love to help you.
Reach out to the number below or give us an email. And also, if you're new to the channel, we make new episodes for you guys on everything Las Vegas every single week. So there's a new episode every week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on everything Las Vegas.
And if there is a video that you want to see, make sure you leave a comment below and we would be happy to create that for you.
Let's get started. Now, before we jump into the whole video on the big topics like housing costs, I want to talk about some fringe topics that most people don't even consider before moving to a new state.
Number one, state income tax. We don't have any. So if you are coming from a state that does have state income tax, just know that when you move to Las Vegas, you will be saving a lot of money. Number two, sales tax on goods.
That's right. If you're coming from a state like Alaska, New Hampshire, Delaware, Montana, or Oregon, you're going to be in a place that doesn't have any sales tax on products or goods. We do have one here in Nevada, so if you're coming to a state that didn't have them, prepare to pay at the cash register for those items. Now, it's only 8.38%, meaning that if you spent $100 on an item, you'd now be spending $108.38. So brace yourself for sales tax if you aren't used to paying it. Number three, toll roads. We don't have any.
That's right. Never will you ever have to worry about paying a simple fee to drive on the road here in Southern Nevada.
Unlike Florida, Pennsylvania, New York, or even California, you're not going to have to pay just to get around.
Number four, tipping and service. Here in Las Vegas, we have a huge entertainment industry and dining experiences that a lot of people base their livelihoods from. So tipping is so important here in Las Vegas to a lot of people within that industry.
Definitely get used to paying a tip here in town because 1 in 3 people that live in this town are in the service and hospitality business. So it's very well known to take care of one another here in town and spread that love around.
Now let's get into the big topics. Number one, we polled one of the largest Facebook groups in town and asked them, what is something you wish you knew before moving to Las Vegas? And the biggest response was auto insurance. A couple members reported they now pay 4 times more than what they used to. And a recent article in the Review Journal, which is our local newspaper here in Las Vegas, stated that Nevada is the most expensive state to own a car in. They factored a couple things. They factored in gas, maintenance, insurance, tax, and registrations, among numerous other criteria to determine overall ownership costs. One example is that Nevada requires smog check every year to renew your gas-powered vehicles, while other states only every 2 years or more. So be prepared to spend a little bit more on your vehicle.
Next on our list is energy bill costs. Now, the average user here with NV Energy, that's our local power provider. We don't have any other companies, and there's no middlemen companies like there might be in Texas. We just have NV Energy, but the average user pays about $200 per month across the year on average. So of course, in the summertime, your bills are gonna be a lot higher when you're running your air conditioner nonstop throughout the night. And of course, they're gonna be much lower in the wintertime if you have a gas house that uses natural gas for your heating system. Now, we have a payment that is on an equal pay plan that gets assessed twice a year, and our personal power bill at our house is $430 every single month. And so before we did the power pay plan, what we found was our bills were around $120 in the wintertime, and they were $500 to $600 in the summertime. It's because the aircon is just constantly running. Now, if you have a more efficient home or a better insulated home or a home with a more efficient HVAC system, a lot of those factors are going to come into play. Now, let's not forget, this also depends on if you like to keep your house extra cool in the summertime. Some people are going to spend a lot more money keeping their home at 62 degrees than the guy who keeps his home at 78 degrees. So power bills will surge in the summer. Our third topic right now is your water bill.
That's right. The average water bill in Las Vegas is around 20 to 30 bucks a month, depending on, of course, how much you're using your water. If you have a garden,
When we spoke with SNWA Water Authority, they explained that out of 16 of the closest states that they communicate with, our cost for water is in the dead middle. We're not the most expensive and we're not the least expensive, but what we've found is 20 to 30 bucks is very affordable.
That's right, and you are paying for the clean and safe water.
So if you're paying a lot of water, like in Oregon, then you're going to be surprised to enjoy that the water is actually incredibly safe, clean, and affordable here.
Now we're going to go ahead and talk about our gas bill.
Natural gas.
Now, it's no doubt that natural gas prices have been increasing, and we personally spent $66 last month on gas during January.
And our current bill for this February is $165.
One of the colder months where we keep our heat on every night throughout the night, and our statement does say that we are consuming more than the average person in our area.
According to the Southwest Gas website and the image that you're looking at, the annual average for a Southern Nevada user is about $57 a month. The summertime average is $31 a month, and then the wintertime average boosts up to around $82 a month. Up next, your trash and sewer bills.
That's right, the trash and sewer payments are quarterly. Our sewer service bill in City of Las Vegas for the last quarter was just billed, and it was $84.39, so that's about $338 a year. Our last two trash bills from Republic Services were $57.77, which comes out to about $231 a year.
And
so
again,
combined,
those are quarterly bills, so they're 4 times a year. The trash and sewer each 4 times a year.
That's right. So combined in most all places in town, your trash and sewer bills
put together
will be coming in around $570 yearly to get rid of all your waste.
And a benefit of Republic Services, as you can see right here, the company that takes care of our waste management is not the actual company Waste Management, it's called Republic Services. They have an awesome feature that if you need to do additional dumping, like say you had an old couch that you needed to get rid of or something like that, you can actually take it to their public dump location and the dumping fee is waived if you are the owner of that bill. So if it says your name and address and it's the same as the name and address on your driver's license, you can dump for free almost 6 days a week at the public dump.
That's right, that's included in your dues. Just don't forget when you do that, or if you do that, to bring your bill to prove that you are the owner of that bill. They will want to see that.
Proof.
Yeah.
Bring your bill, bring your license, dump for free. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, the big one, housing costs.
We're going to talk about first on our list, property insurance.
Now, property insurance has been making a lot of waves and noise in the news media recently, and that's because of the Florida hurricanes and undoubtedly the California wildfires. Rest assured, Vegas owners insurance is significantly cheaper here because we're not really susceptible to natural disasters like California earthquakes, wildfires, Florida hurricanes. We don't really have much of that here.
And of course, a policy's cost depends on size and replacement value of a house, but we see policies typically around $1,000 to $2,000 a year. And as far as the special conditions and riders, we don't require fire insurance on our homes here normally.
Now let's talk flood zones. I got a quick video that'll explain a little bit more about that.
Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this flood map situation, and I'm going to show you, unfortunately, as we are zoomed out, you can't see the designated floodplains and where you're going to have a 500-year or not. But as I come into it, you're going to then start seeing the color coding that we have for our system, at least in our MLS. So the coastal flood, we don't have to worry about these two, the dark blue and the blue. The 100-year floodway, dark purple, and the 100-year floodplain. And then undetermined means it hasn't been rated. 500-year means you may need protection. And then out of special flood hazards. So this orange color here, or the orange, means that there is no additional insurance that need be required. So I'm just going to kind of notice these are some flood areas. Those are the rock quarry. But notice how much of this town, here's a little bit of the floodway. That's this one. This is how it moves, and then it goes underground and picks back up here. Anyways, now right here you see this tiny small segment, which doesn't actually have any houses in it. You'll realize that there's some apartments there, but the majority of this is kind of commercial stuff here. And that does reside in the 500-year floodplain. But as we keep moving, you're going to see a vast majority of what we're hovering over. And then again, these are flood channeling locations. So these are designed by the city to make sure that water goes the right place. So, okay, finally did we hit a 500-year floodplain area. Notice how much industrial stuff is here. There are houses, don't get me wrong. But again, and then it goes back to, more locations that, and then again, you can see where they're keeping water. Obviously, that's a flood zone. They've designed it that way. That's where water reservoirs are already at. And then again, all this stuff is outside of the floodplain. So I just went significantly from the east side to the west side and showed you that the majority of the town is not in a flood zone. And if you're wondering where these little sort of streams or areas are, those are going to be on the other image that we provided for you that looks like this. So here's some of those. And by the way, all these purple areas are just the 500-year ones. And then some of the actual floodplain and drainage. But realistically, you can see, more than 75% is not even in a flood zone whatsoever. And that's due to the nature of our valley going, from the west to the east side. So it's much higher here in the mountains. It's much higher here in the mountains. Cut that out. It's much higher here in the mountains and much lower here. This is our lowest point of elevation. And then, of course, Mount Charleston over here, our highest point of elevation.
There really aren't too many floodplains here in Las Vegas, so getting a flood insurance rider on your homeowner's insurance policy is really not too common just because we live in a bowl-shaped valley that slopes downward, so we don't have a lot of floodplains. The next section is property taxes.
Now, property taxes in Vegas and Henderson are pretty affordable, and if the home is smaller and older, it'll be cheaper. If it's bigger and newer, it'll cost more. We pay about $1,800 a year on our personal home, which is pretty affordable.
Now, if you're going to buy a new construction home, you're going to pay somewhere around 1%. In the city of Las Vegas, it's like 0.91%. And in the city of Henderson, it's 1.15%. So just averaging the two of those, if you bought a $500,000 home, that means that you're probably going to pay about $5,000 for the very first year of your property taxes on that property.
The cheapest property taxes I've seen are on homes built in the 1950s or older that come in as low as $412 a year or even lower.
Can you imagine having a $400 annual tax on your house? Some people could never even think about that. And we have that available here in many places in Henderson and Las Vegas.
Each year, Clark County will reassess our taxes, and if you are in your residence, not as an investment, but as an owner-occupier, we have a 3% annual tax cap where they cannot increase the taxes on your primary home more than 3% of the existing tax rate.
So if you paid $1,000 for your taxes this year, then they would increase it 3% next year. So then you'd be paying $1,030 the following year. And then after that, you'd be paying it in the following year after that would be $1,061 and so on as they increase. Now, if it's not your owner occupier and it's a rental, they reassess it and it could be 8-10% change. So we don't have that guaranteed 3% tax cap unless you are the owner occupier living in there as your primary residence.
And just double check that if you are an owner occupier, just make sure that you check that tax cap.
They'll send you a card in the mail each year to tell you what your assessment is. Now, if you're living there owner-occupied residence and they increased it more than 3%, you can go to the county and let them know that their reassessment value was inaccurate and shouldn't have exceeded that 3%. Our next section we're going to talk about is rental prices. Now, Vicky and I as a team, we don't really focus or work on rentals, but it is important to mention just to kind of gauge the overall economy of the town and what the cost of living is on the rental side.
That's right. We went into the MLS to look at rents today for single-family detached houses on the market, and right now there was 2,333 total available for rent.
For a town of 2.8 million people, only 2,000 rentals available.
The median rental price or most common rental price was $2,470 a month, and the average rental asking price is $3,223.
For clarity, that's for a single-family detached. We're not including rental prices for condos, townhomes, or apartments, or multifamily, or anything like that.
Yeah, and the most affordable rental today is around $1,100, and that's for a one-bedroom.
It was a 900 square foot, one-bedroom, single family.
The most expensive rental asking price is a whopping $100,000 a month.
$100K a month for a rental. Now, lastly, and most importantly, we're going to talk about sales prices and HOA costs and ownership costs, home sales prices.
As for sales price, the most expensive asking price is $32 million, and the least is around $150,000.
And that's for a 700 square foot one-bedroom house.
But realistically, lowest home prices that are not distressed properties is really starting around $270,000.
Basically, so the homes that aren't destroyed or in terrible neighborhoods are going to be around 270, 300 plus. That's where you're going to start finding livable single family properties. And again, these values don't include manufactured homes, condos, or townhomes. Now let's look at other MSAs and see how we stack up. Our median sales price last month was $489,000 for the last 30 days back. The American median sales price for all of America is $404K. That means we're about $80,000, a little bit more expensive than the average American home in every state combined and then average.
In Miami, Florida last month, it was $660,000 according to Redfin data, and Los Angeles was $907,000 last month. Nashville was $461,000. Phoenix, Arizona was $450,000. Boise, Idaho was $556,000. Dallas was $425,000.
So Dallas is one of the few places that's got us beat on more affordable median sales price. It's for single family homes.
And as you can see, we might be a little bit above the normal average, but we're nowhere near many of the most expensive cities.
Definitely. Still affordable place to call home.
So next we're going to talk about HOA prices.
Now we've said in many videos before that 75% of single family homes in Las Vegas and Henderson are in an HOA, so you will have an HOA fee. So you'll need to factor those costs in when you're budgeting and trying to figure out, like, what does this all cost?
For starters, if your HOA has a lot of amenities like pools, if it's guard gated, if you have roaming security, you're going to pay more than a community that doesn't have all of that.
Some HOAs have minimal involvement, so their fees are very low, like $15 a month, while in other places, you might have 3 total HOAs or 2 HOAs and a master planned community HOA fee. Like Summerlin, for example, everything has a master planned community fee around $75 a month. So no matter where you are in Summerlin, you're going to have a master plan fee, but also you might have a subdivision HOA fee as well. So that's 2 HOA fees that you're going to be paying for.
The average HOA for a detached house is usually around $85 a month, but can range up to $600 a month in a more luxurious community.
Or even more expensive if you're in a high rise, you could find yourself paying thousands a month.
That's right. And we took a segment out of our MLS and looked at homes between $495,000 and $505,000. And here's what we got. We had HOAs as low as $22 a month and as high as $172 a month. The median HOA cost of those homes, around $500,000, was between $60 to $80 a month.
Another thing that outsiders may not be aware of the cost of living is the HOA costs when you have to sell a home.
Another thing that outsiders may not be aware of is cost to move into the HOA and cost to sell out of an HOA. So many HOAs have a capital contribution to buy into the community. For example, in San
a NORA fee, the new owner resident fee, and that's about $1,900 for you to buy into that community.
Right.
Now, most HOAs are going to have a transfer fee that costs around $175 to $350, along with miscellaneous fees to sell.
And another thing you may not know about when selling a home is in an HOA is that the resale package and the resale demand statement are required.
Another thing you may not be aware of when buying or selling a home coming from a different state is we have a resale package and an HOA resale demand. And it's required by law that the resale package is provided from the seller to the buyers, and it's usually at the expense of the seller. These resale packages cost around $200, and you'd have one for each HOA that your home resides in. So if you had 3 HOAs, you're going to have 3 resale packages. So don't forget to add those up. The next is the resale demand.
This is a document that the HOA will provide to the escrow company in order to close the account associated with your home in the HOA. This document tells escrow how much money is owed to the HOA for transfer fees and contributions, and it also helps them determine how much money to prorate back to the seller and to charge the buyer for the current dues that were paid or need to be made.
Next is the resale demand statement. This is a document the HOA will provide to the escrow company in order to close the account associated with the home in the HOA. This document tells escrow how much money is owed to the HOA for transfer fees or contributions. It also helps them determine how much money the HOA is going to prorate back to the seller that's already been charged to the seller. The statement also shows if your account's delinquent on payments to the HOA, which will need to be paid in order to allow for a successful closing. The demand also may show that there's an HOA violation that needs to be corrected to allow for the sale to continue, like oil stains on the driveway that need to be cleaned up and then cleared with the HOA. So now that we've made sense of what the demand statement is, preparing it costs time and resources on the HOA management teams, so they make you pay a fee for that. Most of the time it's around $180, but it can become more expensive depending on the community or the community manager. And don't forget that if you have more than one HOA, you're going to need to pay for more than one demand statement.
Finally, SIDS and LID.
SIDS and LIDs stand for Special Improvement District or Local Improvement District, and these are fees that are used to kind of like put in roads and street lights and sidewalks, and they're only for certain parts of town that are brand new and need to be developed.
And if you're buying a new home in a new area, you may have a special fee 2 times a year to help improve the local infrastructure of the newly developing areas of town. These are a balance that gets paid down over time and can be paid off completely by you after purchase or by the builder. They may have paid that off for you.
Right.
So definitely check with us or agents on whether or not your new home has a SID or LID payment.
It's also important to know that even if the home isn't brand new, it could still have a SID and LID balance on it because they can take up to 20 years to pay off. So it may not be a brand new home. It might be a home that's only 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. But if it's in the SID or LID district, then it may still have a balance unless it was paid off like fixed.
Yeah, great for clarifying. It could be a new home to you, just not new construction.
Right. So make sure you talk with a competent professional to make sure you're not paying an additional SID, because that will add another, $1,200 to $1,500 a year on your bottom line.
Now you know the scoop of what it really costs to live here in Las Vegas.
And there were so many things that we couldn't even cover in this video. So to make sure that you're not overspending or being surprised by anything, give us a contact and they'll help you figure that out for which part of the city that you're going to be moving into.
And definitely subscribe to our channel. Again, we post videos every single week for you guys. And leave a comment below if you have any questions or want to see an upcoming video.
That's right. And we also created a free relocation guide that you can download in the comment section below. That will help you kind of familiarize yourself on each area of town so that you're better educated before you make your move.
See you on the next video.